Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you back to another interview of Changing the Perspective. We are really trying to bring some good hope, inspiration, and positivity to the crazy world we live in by bringing you interviews of people who have gone through some struggles and adversity and really come out as a better person or really influenced a lot of people along the way. So we're really looking for you to join this journey with us. We would like for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also join us on our social media, our Instagram and our Facebook page. We do post a lot about our interviews, some behind the scenes stuff, topic discussions, those type of things. We would love to get you just really involved in this journey and really start taking this as far as we can get it and change as many lives as we can through this process. Today, we actually have Lindsey Brown with us, who was sent to me by one of my high school friends, who in our discussion, we found out was her volleyball coach, Kim, I guess Harris, so that's how you know her. Okay. So Kim, when I posted saying, hey, does anyone know anyone who has fought an eating disorder or has anything involved with it? She said, I have a student you need to talk to. She's an amazing speaker. I think you would love her. Let me reach out. And she did. And here is Lindsey. We're super excited about what she has to share with us. Her resources she brought to us are amazing. So I'm sure her story is wonderful as well. So let's just get started.
Well, yeah, hi.
Hello.
So my story with my eating disorder started at 6 years old.
Okay.
My parents had gotten divorced at that time, and at 6 years old, a divorce was like the world was crumbling.
Yes.
And I was shuttled back and forth between houses every other week, and at 6 years old, I didn't have any control. I just was trying to get used to the whole situation of divorce, and I felt like the only thing that I had control over, the only thing that was comforting to me was food. I basically had two different lives at two different houses, different friends in one neighborhood, different friends in the other, and food was a comfort and just one thing that was normal. And so I just really, that was my comfort zone. I ate, and then the weight came on. I became one of the chubby friends, and people have words whenever you get chubby, and those words hurt in elementary school. And so the thing that was giving me comfort and a sense of control ultimately became an enemy. So I was in elementary school, and I thought, oh, okay, from words that people spoke to me, I thought I need to be skinny to be wanted and accepted. And so I still struggled with my relationship with food at such a young age of, it was a control and it was a comfort, but I went into the restrictive side of it. And I masked it with, oh, I'm just wanting to be healthy. I'm just exercising. But it was really proven in high school that it was severe. Because middle school, high school, that's when boys have something to say about your body. Yep. And again, that feeling of I just want to be wanted and seen and loved. It was fueled by I have to be skinny or I have to look a certain way just because of society, culture, and words that were spoken to me. Yeah. And I really believed that. And so by 15, I was officially diagnosed with anorexia. But the thing was, I didn't think I had anorexia. Oh. I say I masked it with I was just eating healthy and exercising, but I really believed I was doing the right thing. Doing what culture says is best. And it really, I just believed I was doing what everyone said was the best thing. And my mom said to me, there's something wrong, like, this is anorexia. And I didn't believe her. I didn't think I had a problem. But she took me to the doctor's office, and they diagnosed me, and I got into a recovery type of program. It wasn't like a like a clinic or anything. It was just, I got into a dietitian's office or routine and a counselor and then my regular physician. So it wasn't like one collective program, but it really, I want to say this carefully, just from my own personal experience, it did not help me because I didn't think I had a problem. I went to a dietitian's office. She would say, "Are you eating this? Are you eating that?" I'm like, "Yep." No, wasn't. And my counseling office appointments, I would go to him and basically say, "I'm afraid of my family," because they were telling me to do the thing that scared me the most, which was eat, because I correlated eating and weight with not being loved. And they didn't understand that, and I didn't understand that at that point. I was just in a survival mode mentality. I didn't realize that I had a problem until I got a simple stomach bug and it sent me to the ER. I was hospitalized, and the only thing I could eat or take in at that point was soup and juice, and I had gotten to 80 pounds at that point.
Oh, man.
And, so I was at 80 pounds, hospitalized, and I was so weak, I needed help to go to the bathroom. And I don't want to say this is when I knew I had an eating disorder. It was more of, that doesn't sound right, was I needed help going into the restroom. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Do you know how much sodium I've had today?" Because I tracked everything. And the only thing I could take in was soup. And she was like, "You're really worried about sodium right now. You're in the hospital." And I was like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And so after that experience, I thought maybe I should start eating. And the regular eating turned into binge eating. And that came from, I started to gain weight, and the shift from I need to be skinny to be loved turned into I'm gaining weight, I'm not worthy of being loved. And it was I was punishing myself, and I wasn't understanding why. I just was doing that, and I didn't have the capability at that time to say, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But I went through years of anorexia and restricting, and then years of binge eating, not understanding why I was doing it. I just was acting on emotion.
Yeah.
And it was years of binge eating, restricting, to where I just said to myself, I can't do this anymore. I've had enough. And I went to a different counselor, because years had passed by this point. Yeah. I went to a different counselor and at my university, and she just met me where I was at, and she has been such a blessing to me because, like I said, she met me where I was at. I told her what I was struggling with the binge eating, with restricting, and she really challenged me by just saying, okay, well, what would happen if you just let yourself binge? And I was like, what?
Why would I do that?
Yeah. She said, take away all the rules. Like, what would happen if you just let yourself eat anything you wanted, any amount, at any time? And I looked at her, I said, I wouldn't know how to eat. I've been tracking calories and everything since I was 10 years old. I said, I don't know how to eat. She goes, well, you know how to binge. If you're going to do that, let yourself. But the thing is, be mindful, be in the moment, and just ask yourself, what am I feeling? And, okay, I'm having this urge. Why? And that was the shift of realizing my eating disorder from 6 years old to now being 21. It was not a food or weight or even exercise issue. It was a heart issue. And like I said, from being a little girl to now, that root of I just wanted to be wanted and I wanted to be loved. I didn't know that until really this year, where I was able to process things more, the emotional side of healing, because all those years I was just in survival mode or acting on emotion. I didn't know why, until I had that challenge of just acknowledging what I was feeling and working through that. And so she really helped me realize the root. And it was not oh, I get it, and everything changed overnight, because I've also had to learn that from so many years of the disordered eating, it didn't take me overnight to get to that point, and it's not going to take overnight to heal. But I can say right now, I'm in such a good place with it, because I've been able to now acknowledge, okay, I know what the root is. I know how I'm feeling. I'm able to acknowledge my emotions, not just act on it, but process it and realize, no, that's not who I am. That's not how I want to act. And replacing those lies of I'm not worthy of being loved, or I just desire to be loved or seen or wanted, whatever it is. I'm at the point where I'm like, I am loved. And so the emotional side of an eating disorder, I feel really strong in, but there's still the symptoms of so many years. Like, it's going to take a while to get to, I want to be careful with my words here. I want to say recovery looks different for each person. And for me, the last step that I took, that I'm currently walking on, is finally understanding intuitive eating, which is just eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full and letting yourself eat whatever. There's no rules, and that's freedom for me. That's healing for me. But that someone else's eating disorder, their healing might be something different. But that was a big step for me, and I'm walking in that now, and also walking in being kind to myself on the emotional side of healing. So but that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Do you feel like when your parents got divorced at 6, that if you would have had some form of counseling or therapy during that time, would things be different?
That's a good question. I don't know. I can be honest and say, really, 13 years old and under, I don't have a great memory because of trauma. Right. I can remember certain things, and so I don't know exactly what I was thinking at that time, or what would have helped me at that time. I was just in survival mode. And I didn't think I had a problem with my relationship with food until I was, 16 at that point. So I don't know. I think there could have been positives to it, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah. So you mentioned then 13 kind of being where life really starts becoming clear in your memories. And I think some people, my sister's one, she can remember like the first day of kindergarten and stuff. Yeah. I don't have that either. And it's not that I blocked it for trauma, but it's like I didn't have the same importance or something. I don't know. But I think at some point we all have like a starting point, like 13 for you, From 13 on, obviously, students are mean. Kids are mean. I mean, in all ways. Kids are mean. Do you feel like anything could have changed your mind if you were in a different recovery situation, if you had a different set of friends? Like, do you think anything at 13 could have changed it?
Yes. I'm grateful for the support that my family had given me with the recovery side of things.
Yeah.
But the thing that I lacked the most was the emotional care.
Yeah.
They provided for me financially with the counselors, with medication, with doctors, with everything, but that was not the root problem.
Right.
So if I had the emotional care and, a lot of the emotional healing that I needed, I ruined myself because for example, I was too anxious and afraid to even sit down at the dinner table with my family. And that's something that I find now is so critical in families, and being able to see like your children for what they're going through that day, or a conversation being seen and heard. I took that away from myself.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of changes that could have been made on both ends. But I will say, I had a community at church that even at that time when I wasn't able to process why I was feeling certain ways or acting in certain ways, I had a church family who really just poured into me because they could see that I was having problems that I couldn't see myself. And that was something that I just stayed consistent in, was staying involved in church and being mentored and just having a community of faith. That was critical in my recovery.
That's good. So you mentioned like the fear of sitting at the dinner table. So you wanted to be seen and loved by your friends, but you were afraid to be seen and heard by your family.
Yep.
I mean, just that by itself, the emotional pull. I mean, at 13, you wouldn't understand it. Like no one at 13 would understand that feeling. So, I mean, I guess I commend you for being where you are now because that's hard. You gave me some books as resources. So tell me a little bit about a few of these that you pointed out. Is there one you think is better than another? Is there one you would suggest to anyone particular?
Okay, so Play with Fire is written by Bianca Olthoff. She is a pastor in LA.
Okay.
And I really connected with that book because if you see her now, you just see this empowered, faith-filled, super strong and super confident woman. And you read her story, and she struggled with an eating disorder.
Oh, okay.
And I related to her in so many different ways. And in that book, it talks a lot about how you're searching for love in the wrong places.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's the root problem of an eating disorder.
Yeah.
And that book was, along with counseling, helped me work through the emotional side of healing. So that was super big for me. Same with Goliath Must Fall. That is written by Louis Giglio. He goes through all the emotions of like anger and fear, comfort, and talking about that's your Goliath and it needs to fall. And so my eating disorder came from just wanting to be loved and seen. Someone else could be anger or fear or whatever. And I think that book could help a person analyze their own root cause of an eating disorder, or even just how they view themselves. And then intuitive eating, that's a newer one for me. Like I said, that's the step I'm on right now.
Yeah.
But there were bits and pieces out of that book that my counselor that I'm currently seeing pulled out and worked on that with me.
Yeah.
And so she was so kind to me. Like I said, she met me where I was at, knew that I could not handle that whole book.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw her, so she took pieces that she knew that I could handle.
Yeah.
But I just recently said, I'm ready to dive into it. So I'm brand new to intuitive eating, but what I use with my counselor, big help.
Okay. So if someone's kind of further along in the process, that would maybe be a good one for them to go to. So when we started talking before we turned on the cameras, she really talked about her university counselor. And tell me why she has done more for you than any other counselor you've been with. What is it about her that makes your journey different?
Well, for one, I'd say I was ready.
Okay.
I was ready to recover. Like I said, at that point, I was just fed up. Like, I can't live like this anymore. And she's the one who helped me with the root issue. So I've seen 2 other counselors who at that time met me where I was at. And at that point, I wasn't ready to really recover. I was just living in fear or had questions about faith. And so they helped me where I needed to be helped.
Right.
But within the last year of really saying, I've had enough of these struggles, that's the big difference of she's been a help to me, but I've also had to help myself and say, I have a problem and I need help. Yeah. That's the biggest thing is getting off your high horse and saying, I need someone else.
Yeah. Which I think as a teenager is horribly hard. Yeah. My son is a teenager, and there are some times I stand in front of him and it is so obvious to me as a parent, and whatever the issue is, and he's looking at me like, whatever, I don't have that problem. And you're like, it's like right there. Yeah. And so I think as a teenager, some of that is a little bit of ego, because at that age, you think you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter what it's about. It's a constant fight because you think you're right. And everyone else around you is like, no, you're not. So I completely understand, the whole, it's time to get off your high horse. So would that be part of your advice to someone that is dealing with this as a teenager, is drop the act and get honest?
I'd say that for some. Okay. Because who I was in high school is completely different than who I am in college. The college side is get off your high horse. In high school, I would say don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Yeah. Because I didn't know how to communicate at that time. Right. I was just, I've said so many times, I felt an emotion, I acted on it. And I wasn't mentally strong enough to analyze that and make wise decisions about it, or even say I need help to understand. And so I would have the strangest fears about food or questions about food of I would just to be very vulnerable, I would journal what even is food. I didn't know how to eat. It was at that point of I don't understand how people eat normally. And I would journal about it, but I wouldn't talk about it. And because I was embarrassed and I was afraid. And that's part of healing, is being vulnerable. Yeah. So many people think being vulnerable is a sign of weakness, but that's a sign of strength. And it took me years to figure that out. Yeah. So you mentioned, again, pre-recorded stuff, that you were an athlete in high school. With the eating disorder, did that make that hard for you? No. It was a big part of masking. Okay. I would just say, oh, I'm just exercising, just going for a run, just, I noticed the deeper I got into the restrictive mode, I stopped enjoying, so in high school I played volleyball. Yeah. I stopped enjoying volleyball. I enjoyed the workouts in practice. And I would say that's a big trigger warning, or not trigger, but sign of, okay, I might be thinking about this wrong. It's all about what your motivation is behind it. And it's really weird that I remember this, but we would have goals that we would write for each year of what our goal was for this volleyball season.
Yeah.
And the last year I was able to play volleyball, I remember writing to get to my goal weight. And looking back, there's so many signs of, guys, I had a problem.
Yeah.
But I find it a lot easier for athletes to have an eating disorder, because that's a lot of diet culture of being told what you need to eat, how much, when. It's just rules. And so unfortunately it made it a lot easier.
Yeah. I can see that. I was a cheerleader. You know, you had to fit in the uniform and it had to look a certain way. And the skirts were short, so, you know, things couldn't hang in any direction. So I could see that. Although I hated practice, I only wanted to perform. So usually that's how it goes. Has your disorder made dating hard? Because most dates you go, let's go to dinner or let's go grab Andy's or whatever. Has that been hard?
That is such a good question. Oh my goodness. And I've never been asked that. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%. I remember I got mad at my dad in high school because there was this guy who wanted to take me out. And I said no because I didn't want to eat. And my dad was like, you need to go. And I'm like, no, I'm happy with the single life. And I convinced myself of that. And at the same time, I'm saying I want to be seen. I want to be loved. Like, I was just, I didn't know. I was just, words matter. That's what I'm saying. But the dating side, it's odd now that you say that, because I turned down dates. I was afraid to be vulnerable. But at the same time, I'm telling myself I need to look a certain way for guys to want me.
Yeah.
And just lie after lie that I was believing. But yeah, it was difficult, and it still is. Yeah. Yeah. Not so much anymore now that I'm on the intuitive eating side. But I went from fear of food to feeling shameful for eating, because I got to a point where I thought, I'm not allowed to eat, and I don't want a guy to see me eating. Right. Again, just, it's so frustrating looking back.
Girl, date the guy that will, like, praise you for cleaning your whole plate.
You're right.
Enjoy that.
So man, that's a great question. I've never been asked that.
So I've had trauma in my life, and I've been through some counseling, and these are questions that, like, I would have been thrown in my face. So that's the only reason I know how to ask these questions.
I love that.
I've been through enough of this. Not the eating disorder, but just general trauma. And it all kind of circles around the same, you know, getting your mind better. Really, no matter what your addiction or your issue is, it's all about just getting your mind in a better place. And so I'm hoping to get my counselor to interview on here too, because that is why I ask the questions I ask, is she just hammered them in. One of the other resources you give, and you've mentioned slowly, or kind of, is your kind of life group, your church family, which sounds like has been a support for years for you. You friended me on Facebook. I did a little stalking. But it does look like, I mean, you were decorating at your church. You went to a life group little thing. You are highly involved still. Yeah. Is that still where your main support system lies?
I would say so.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say my sisterhood at school. Okay. I've got a group of just sisterhood that we encourage each other, we build each other up. Good. And we're vulnerable. We pray with one another, and we challenge each other. Yeah. And so my life group, my church family, they've got a special place in my heart.
That's good.
And so yeah.
Okay.
They're big. They're a big deal to me.
That's awesome. So has this led to you deciding, like, on a career that revolves around it, or have you gone that direction or not?
So I have some ideas.
Okay.
And this just happened recently. I have started to fall in love with event planning.
Okay.
I work in catering right now, so I get kind of the event planning side of things. But I'm actually working on a women's conference right now for one of my classes.
Okay.
Basically, we're supposed to show our professors that the last 4 years of college have not been a waste, and we can do what we want to do.
Okay.
So it's a smaller women's conference, and it's going to be at my house, probably 20 to 30 girls, and just a place to impact girls and empower them in the Word of God. And I believe God's hand is on this conference, even though it's just for a class.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it just for a passing grade. I want to do something that's going to impact and empower women. And I do think that this is the start of something bigger. I don't know what that means, but I know that God's got his hand on me and on my future, whatever that looks like in ministry, in event planning, whatever. And this could just be a path to something else, because I've noticed in my past I would be like, oh yes, this is the career field I'm going on, and then I find out it's just to have a connection with someone else, and then we go a different path. So, but I'm speaking in boldness that this is something that I want to go into.
Awesome. Yeah, when you and I started talking, you said, I really have always wanted to get my story out there and see who I can help along the way. And oh my gosh, I'm in. Like, you were all in. And I think that you are springboarding to being able to do that throughout, whether it's testimony at an event, a women's conference, or, some type of function. I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
So, any advice you would give someone, whether it's a parent that has a child going through this, it's a teenager that's going through this, what advice would you give people that are currently in the fight?
Currently in the fight, be vulnerable.
Okay.
Even if it's a silly fear that you think, talk about it.
Yeah.
Communicate with others, and be in community that allows you to go through each step of the healing process. Even if it's slow, even if it's difficult, you need community, you need to be vulnerable, and you need to know that it's more than body, food, exercise. There's something deeper, even if you don't know it at the time.
Right.
And as far as parents and family, they might not understand what's going on with their child. Child might not know at the time, but just listen.
Yeah.
That is so big. I know it's easy to react out of fear and just want to fix it, but you can fix the symptom as much as you want until you get to the root problem and just go through that part. I don't know how to word this. Just be there and listen.
Yeah. Which is hard as a parent for sure, because you do want to fix everything. You want to take all the pain away from your little children, especially, seeing one in a hospital bed at 80 pounds. Like, I'm sure your parents were freaking out.
Yeah.
So all they wanted to do right then was shake you and go, wake up, like you have a problem.
Yeah.
And obviously they couldn't do that. You weren't going to listen to what they were really saying.
Yeah.
So, okay. Anything else you would like to add before we close out?
I think I'm good.
Okay. I want to personally thank Lindsey for being here today. We are hopefully going to try to reach out to maybe some of her contacts and see if we can get some of the experts here that have helped her in her path, really get maybe a Q&A type session with someone who understands eating disorders from a professional standpoint. We'll see if we can make that happen. I think that would be really exciting for our viewers to be a part of also. We will put any resources that she has talked about, the ones she emailed me, in the description of the video, so they're super easy to find, so you don't have to rewatch the entire video to find it. It'll be right there, easy access. Most books these days you can get on Audible or Amazon, super easy to track down. If you like what you heard today, make sure that you like our YouTube page or subscribe to whatever podcast you're listening to so that you can get all of the interviews as they come out every week. We are dedicated to putting those out every week, and it's usually something new every time. Also, if you know of someone that has a story to be told, or you have a story that needs to be heard, please reach out. Let us know. We would love to hear from you. We would love to tell your story and see who we can influence through what you've gone through. Because what we're learning is everyone in their moment feels alone, but no one is actually alone. And that's what we really want to convey in any situation that we're all going through, especially in 2020 being the crap year it has been for the entire world. We really just want to bring that hope alive. So if you know of someone, please reach out on any of our social media pages or send us an email at support@changingtheperspective.com. We would love to just hear from you. Even if it's just a topic suggestion, please let us know what you're thinking. We would just love to hear from you. Also, please continue to follow our journey along the way. We're super excited about what we have in store for you coming up. We have quite a docket, and we're really excited about some of the things that are coming forward. So please join us, and I hope everyone had an amazing week. Hopefully everybody's weekend's going to be awesome, and we'll see you next time. Bye.